Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit a million orders stage. Shopify is there to help you grow. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 36% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. Because businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Get a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/work. Shopify.com/work.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New subscribers only. Renew for 12 months to lock in savings. Taxes and fees extra. Additional restrictions apply. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Welcome guys to this week's episode of Heavy Metal Tones with me, your podcast host, Tony Evans. Now I'm using my new mic for this intro and the old mic for the show. I wonder if anyone can hear the difference. It took a little bit of tweaking, but then again, you know, who doesn't like a bit of a tweak now and again, I'm sure. Now, this episode is quite special because we got to interview the two lads, Nat and Shaun from the Burning, the Perth band, about their wonderful debut album that's taken 15 years to get released, called The Living Dead. And we were allowed at the beginning, by permission of the band, to play Act 1, Calling All Units, and The Living Dead Part 1, The Dead Will Rise. Now, we both, you have to listen to Act 1 and Part 1 together. It really starts the story off for the album. So I hope you enjoy this. I really enjoyed talking to the lads. They are really good storytellers. There are some dropout sections, might be a few seconds here and there where it goes a bit blank for a second because one of them was in Manila, one was in Perth, and I'm here in Canberra, and so the sound got a little bit broken up. It might get stuffed, an advert might get stuffed in there, I don't know yet. This is a long show, guys, for me. It's one of the longest I've ever done, so please do sit in, enjoy the show. The guys are brilliant raconteurs. We'll talk to you soon, guys. Enjoy the interview and enjoy this brilliant music.
All units, calling all units. There have been several reports in the last 10 minutes. I don't quite know how to say this, but they are telling me the dead are walking the streets of Arch City. I'm sure it's just a series of pranks, but could I get an available patrol car to do a perimeter check of the city, paying particular attention to the old cemetery? Over.
Get you, Barbara.
Thanks for reaching out and wanting to chat with me. I'm sort of, and just no disrespect, I hadn't heard your stuff before. This big, vast continent we live on, there's so much fantastic music coming from here that when you said, hey, have a listen, I was blown away, guys, blown away. So I'm talking to the guys from The Burning, Perth. How would you describe your metal? Would you say horror-based, horror-themed thrash? What would you say yours is?
Oh, what do you reckon, Sean?
Yeah,
Zombie metal.
Yeah, zombie metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, we as serious as like you can make music, right? It's good. It's always fun to have a cool theme to it, you know, and try and write a story. I think we grew up so much, us and the lads, like watching horror movies, zombies, a lot of zombie flicks. So may as well make songs about it.
I was going to say it's right up my alley because I used to work in special effects back in the UK when I was younger, and zombie movies are my thing. You know, particularly Italian, Fulci movies.
Great.
I mean, The Burning, for God's sake, is probably Tom Savini's best slasher movie, right? And I was like, I put it on. I remember just thinking, because I'm a big fan of prog, right? I love a good journey through a bit of music, and I felt that with your album, particularly the way that you sort of have that sort of dramatism and using. I've got a big thrill. I'm listening on my headphones going to work, and I heard that I'm coming to get you, Barbara, from Night of the Living Dead, and I was, oh yeah,
yeah.
Fantastic.
It's good, man. Like, it's good to have it's good, like you said, it's good to have the story, right? Even with a lot of the solos that Nat writes, like even through some of those, they do try and tell a story within the song, right? Going in and out of like speed and tempos and all that sort of stuff, to try and match what the song's about, right? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and now I have to say that's some great guitar work there, man. I genuinely, really was impressed. Like, it's just,
It's a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, I don't want to blow smoke up here, but I mean, I'm a bass player, so guitar. When I play guitar, I noodle away. It always is something special, like. And I was just sort of the mix on the album is so good. Where did you mix it?
Brilliant. No, it's good to hear. I mean, I guess there's a long story behind the album in the fact that, oh, look, I mean, where do we start, right? So we recorded this thing. We recorded this album. We're calling it a new release, but we recorded the album, what do you reckon, Shaun? 15, 16 years ago? Something along those lines.
Wow.
And anyway, the band essentially broke up at that point of finishing the recording. So we all went off and did different things. And, I guess, we've probably come into some of those things in a bit, but it's all sort of coming full circle now where everyone's talking again. We've decided to release the album on, Spotify and iTunes and the like, and make a little video clip, put that up on YouTube, and really start to try and push the album and start jamming again. And it's really exciting, mate. It's it's been a lot of fun.
I think that's brilliant because it doesn't sound 15 years old. I don't know. It doesn't, man. It really sounds fresh. I listen to a lot of bands like Heads for the Dead and things like that, sort of that horror-themed stuff from Europe. And it sounds on par with that stuff, man. It's real fun to listen to, and it doesn't sound 15 years ago. It really doesn't. It doesn't have that, that early 2000s had an issue with the sounds really quite bland and flat. It doesn't have that feel at all.
Yeah. No, you guys, it's good to hear, mate. Like we at the time, I think probably one of the reasons the band broke up is because we were doing so much at that point. We were, we'd rehearse for 6 hours a night, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. We gig on the weekends, and we were recording as well. And it just kind of got to a point where everyone was cooked, to be honest. And just as the album was finished, we all kind of got to a point of I think there was a couple of things there. There was, I know Shaun, he went and did some traveling at one point. And when he came back, the rest of the band, there was arguments within the band. There was, arguments with the guy that was producing the album and other bits and pieces. And rather than just probably making the smart choice of saying, well, why don't we suspend this for 3 months and then we come back to it when Shaun's back and we're all we've all got a fresh headspace. We kind of disbanded. And it's probably a bit of a shame looking back, but at the same time, it's to be kind of picking where we left off. And it is 15 years ago.
Yeah. Look, sorry, Shaun.
I'm pretty proud of it as well. I mean, like even listening to it now, like you said, it actually the quality of the recording. I think because we did have a bit of arguments with the producer, like at the time we sort of went, oh, well, it doesn't sound as good as I wanted it to, or whatever the case is. But then when you listen to it now, like you said, you're sitting there going, that actually doesn't sound too bad. Like it wasn't actually that bad.
Yeah, but you know what though? I mean, you're young men, you're passionate, it's your first album, you want it, we all know the story about Iron Maiden's first album, they don't like the sound of it, and most bands always fear the first album is going to sound flat, and it's their first foray into the world, and I don't blame you for feeling that way. I mean, it's passion, isn't it? I mean, you don't spend, like you said, 40 hours a week thinking, living, doing without wanting to be the best. If you just walked away and went, well, that's whatever you give me is fine, then I don't think it would come across as it does.
It's a fair point. Yeah. I mean, it was to a point. I talked to a lot of our other friends that are in bands, and they don't jam or practice as nearly as much as we did, but not even close. And we sort of thought it was natural. We thought we were under jamming. We were under. What I mean? We sort of said, well, I don't think we're jamming enough. I don't think we're putting enough effort into this. A lot of these bands, they might jam, once or twice a week at best, right? We were just hammering it. So it's interesting to sort of, come from like an outside perspective. Is that right?
But that's why it comes across that way. It really does. From my ear, it doesn't sound. I mean, I would have said that was your third or fourth album. I wouldn't have said that was your first album. that you recorded, I wouldn't. I would have gone, yeah, okay, that's where's your other work? And at one point, I did actually go and look for it because I thought, oh, there might be others because I thought this is so good. Where's the other stuff?
If you look hard enough, you might find a couple of very crusty demos. I'll tell you how hard you got to look, mate. I had to look myself to try and find something because it had been so long, and ended up finding on what's the website called?
Not SoundCloud, is it?
Metal Archives. Right?
Oh, Metal Archives.
Yeah. I actually found our singer Richard Clements. I was looking for his band, and I found his band, and in there it says previous bands, The Burning, and I click on The Burning, and it opens up with a little profile, and it says we were signed to a record label, which we weren't, to my knowledge, anyway. So you go to there, and you can see there's another link to say buy The Burning's music, and sure enough, you click on it, and it took you to eBay, and it found our demo. So I had to pay $30 for my own demo.
I was talking to. It's funny because I was talking to Tony from Black Sabbath, Tony Martin, one of my heroes, and he said the same thing. Like his album, which is my favorite album of all time, which is Headless Cross. He can't even get a copy of it. He can't, and he bloody sang on the thing. So,
yeah. Oh, well, from there, mate, we all got sending each other messages and pictures and bits and pieces, from the old days. And I was reminded that we actually recorded a second demo. So, I mean, that just shows how shot my memory is from the good times we had back in the day. Right? So we had two demos. The one I bought on eBay was Demon Resurrection. Yeah. And then we had The Dead Will Rise as well, which I've literally scored a copy of that yesterday from a mate. Yeah, so I've got to go and have a good listen to The Dead Will Rise and see what differences I can pick up on that. It's brilliant reliving it all, man, because the other thing that I picked up yesterday, a DVD that, I mean, Shaun doesn't even know I've got this yet, I don't think, but picked up a DVD that we had recorded at a gig at the Castle. And just like the crowd in this thing is just insane to watch. There's backflips, front flips, there's people grabbing each other around the neck and dropping each other. It was an awesome time, man. It was a really awesome time. And yeah, I'd give anything to go back and relive that again. So maybe that's what all part of this is, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously there's water under the bridge, right? And you've grown up and you've got more technically adept. You've got more life experience, and you choose different. It might be different next time. So yeah.
It was raw, man. Like you look at the footage of this gig, and I'll get it uploaded so you can have a look at it soon. But even to the point where like you could see the songs that had so much work put into the songs themselves, but the execution on the night. I think the singer Richard, he says at one point that we hadn't jammed for a month because we were recording, and he even says the album will be out soon. And here we are talking about that 15 years later, right? But there's a couple of songs like "Thy Will Be Done" that start with that clean section and then move into the heavier riffs and with the distortion. Obviously that unprepared for the gig when we rocked up, that I haven't even got a foot switch. So Richard's there at my amp, pressing the button to go from clean to distortion on stage. That's the sort of professional outfit we were back then, eh, Shaun?
That's rock and roll for you, man. I mean, it wouldn't be the same.
It was just real, man. It was like there was no pretentiousness with the band.
That's right.
It was four best mates, and it was three best mates and a drummer at first, and eventually that drummer quit, and we got Shaun. And when Shaun came in, we had four best mates. And all of his friends that came in and joined with our friends, and everyone was like, this was the piece that had been missing. And it was brilliant, man. We a couple of really good years there.
Brilliant.
So, fantastic.
So before Shaun came in, did you all meet at school, or were you just like?
Good question, eh? So me and Richard, we actually met queuing up overnight for Pantera tickets back in the day. Back when you actually had to queue up overnight to get decent tickets. Yeah. So that's how we met. And he said he was a singer. I said I was a guitarist. And I was there with a friend that sort of knew him. And then a couple of days later, I said to him, is there any chance you could get hold of him? And, if you know him, then we'll tee up a jam. And sure enough, we teed up a jam. He knew a bass player and I knew a drummer. The drummer that we had, I guess at the time, bless him, he was from a family that was very heavily religious.
Oh,
And I wouldn't say any of us are devil worshippers by any means, but by the same token, I think him and his family were very torn with this whole heavy metal and what heavy metal represents, and
the satanic
the
panic.
point where he kind of rebelled against his family as a young man, and he was driving a HZ panel van with a massive Deicide sticker across the back, and it was obviously him rebelling against his family, and it kind of got to a point where I think he pushed it too far. He felt bad, and he ended up leaving the band. He couldn't do it. He was torn too much, and as much as that sucked at the time, for the band, it was probably the best thing that could happen because we got Shaun.
Yeah, there you go. So there's always an upside, right?
There is. Yeah, at the time it was kind of hard, and we tried to talk him out of it and let him know his family were fucking nuts. And but family's family, right? You're always going to stick with family. So so that's what he did. And like I say, to be honest, it was probably the best thing that could happen.
And you all come from the same sort of, obviously, with the same sort of musical tastes, like coming together in the band. Like, did you have a one particular band that you all sort of look up at, or was it all really eclectic?
No, I think that's what made it easy. When we're writing songs, like everyone has a pretty similar liking to the music, right? So I can't remember a time where any of us sort of said, "Nah, that riff sucks," or "that vocal pattern sucks," or "those drums suck." Like, it was all pretty. We all like Pantera, we all like White Zombie, Maiden, all that sort of stuff, right? So it was all kind of like a mash of those sorts of bands. Just the fact that we always wanted a solo in a song, whether it be like a short one or whatever, we just represented. We thought that still needs to be represented, right? We only wanted one guitarist. We don't, you don't want that sort of style where it was like just Dimebag wailing in Pantera solos, all that sort of stuff, right? Really loved that feel of metal. Yeah. And nothing too crazy, nothing too technical, just catchy sort of riffs and catchy lyrics and all that sort of stuff, right? I think that was where we were wanting to head. Right?
Yeah, and it comes across as I'm listening to Nat soloing, and honestly, I don't know if this would be a big up, but I actually thought of Zakk Wylde, man. I was listening to your.
Yeah,
mate, I knew you were gonna love that one. I knew you'd love that.
I'll take that time.
Oh man, your use.
Hey, we're going to come back on every week if you're going to keep talking like that, man.
your pinch harmonics, man. Like the way that you play with them at the end of every phrase there, and one of those, I think it was tracks. I had to stop and listen to it. Like I rewind and listen, rewind and listen, rewind and listen. I was like, this guy, he could. What good control, man. And I thought, oh man, because I saw Zakk years ago with Black Label Society, and he blew my mind. Like, just the guy's a freaking legend. So
he really owns a guitar, that man.
Mate, doesn't he? Far out.
I saw him in Black Label Society when they came through Perth, and I just remember this, looking up at the stage and just seeing this massive man that made a Gibson Les Paul that big.
Yeah.
It was just this tiny little guitar on this massive man, and watching him with those pinch harmonics was just unreal.
I know. And he came out. I remember when I saw him, he came out and he had the Indian headdress on, and I thought, man, you couldn't get away with it. How are you doing it? He just came on, he started dancing, and he's got I thought, this guy's just, man, groove. He has such a groove.
With massive Pantera fans, with the whole Pantera reunion, and I guess a lot of the metal world's pretty split on whether or not that should be happening or not. I think
I'm sort of a little bit against it. Yeah,
and I get that, right? And I was at first as well, but when you look at the fact that Zakk Wylde and Dimebag were friends, he was at his funeral, he played at his funeral, all those things that kind of tie into a personal relationship as well. It just makes you feel like, well, he's the right man for the job. And as much as I kind of didn't agree with it at first, I got to admit, if that show came to Perth, I'd be I'd be queuing up overnight for Perth.
If it only came to Perth, I'd be flying to Perth.
Right? And that's the point one, right?
Yeah.
Everyone,
a gig, right?
so many people are against it, but you'd go. Everyone would go, man. Like I was this close to going to the US just to watch it. So
it's one of those weird things. It's like when you've got a favorite band and one either dies or leaves, and then they keep going. Like I'm a really big Thin Lizzy fan, but there's like one of them left, and they keep trawling it out. It's like Queen. I mean, I just I just don't get it. But if you can do it with respect and reverence,
it's incredible as Queen were to be picking up a frontman from what was it, American Idol, right? Like, I mean, the guy does a great job, no doubt, and he's a fantastic singer. But it's like, it's just so commercial, bolted to something so classic.
It is exactly how I feel, and that's why I won't go. Like when they come up now, interested, not doing it. I saw Priest with Ripper Owens, and he was brilliant. I thought he was fantastic. It wasn't Priest, but it was still an amazing concert. Just like I saw what's his name with Maiden once when Bruce left, and I didn't dislike it. I've only just started like listening to the albums, to be honest with you.
So it's interesting. Like I struggle to listen to Sepultura without Max, right? I really struggle with it, and I don't know why. Sure. I just don't know why. I still love Sepultura, and I like Soulfly. Well, I liked earlier Soulfly and all that sort of stuff, but I just can't seem to get into the Sepultura without Max. I think it's the sound that you just expect to have.
And it also depends on when it comes into your life. If it comes into your life when you're in an informative period of your life, it's very difficult then to separate that, because you go, oh, look, I just spent this like 10 hours a day listening to this band, and now it's someone else. I can't do it.
Feel like a child, like throwing the toys out of the car. No, I'm not listening to this.
Yeah, I'm not buying that bloody Maiden album without Bruce.
But secretly you listen to it, like.
Of course, Sign of the Cross is one of my favourites. But so you obviously, as I said at the beginning of the show, so you're horror movie fans, right? Yeah. Now I'm of an age where I remember video nasties being my big thing, right? Going to the video store as a kid and getting stuff that was unrated, unregistered. Watching as much nasty stuff as I could ever get my hands on, and I remember getting from the UK when I was in the UK. My brother used to import Australian videos because you could get like Bloodsucking Freaks uncut, and Dawn of the Dead with no edits, and all this sort of stuff. And when I put your album on, it just brought me right back to sitting in my lounge room with my big, huge VHS machine, playing Cannibal Ferox.
Awesome, man.
It was really nice.
Yeah, I love it.
Brilliant.
I think a lot of that like horror movie influence came out of, in particular, probably Richard. So like, we'd go out either to watch other bands or we'd have our own gig, and then typically like, we'd obviously be wasted and, end up falling out of a cab back at his joint, like walking into his place with like, like those microwave burgers that you can buy from
7-Eleven.
BP,
Yeah.
Annihilating a couple of those on his couch at his place, and then watching, Brain Dead or Army of Darkness, and waking up in the morning going, I got an idea for a song. Let's jam. Where's your guitars? Where's your guitar? Pulling his guitar out from under his bed and starting to write a song with a hangover first thing in the morning with a memory of Ash versus Evil Dead. Brilliant, man. And guts full of plastic burgers.
and really bad, lots of bad beer. Like, well, there's never bad beer. I mean,
or the warm beer that you had left over from the night before that's still sitting there, and it's like, well,
yeah. And you've looked over it, and there's a cigarette button, and you go, I still could go there.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Here are the dog, right?
With your go-go juice.
Yeah, I remember. I was in this punk band, really bad,
to the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. I think we were called Spots or something shit like that. And we'd been out to see.
A punk band, you can never start a conversation with, I was in a really good punk band. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to start off with, it was
I love punk.
Terrible, man.
No, we're not technically proficient, right? But I went to see this band called, my mate's band, Chumbawamba. Do you remember Chumbawamba? I Get Knocked Down.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And we were backstage, really getting lathered. And my mate started making a pass on one of the support band's wives. And we got kicked out, right? I had no money, no way of getting home. It was in Camden Town. I had to walk from Camden to fucking Hendon, which was like 14 miles. And I was absolutely, like, pissed. I mean, I didn't know where I was, like, what planet I was on. He goes, come and stay at my place, which is literally, like, just around the corner. I thought, oh, fuck, all right, just waddle there. And it turns out it was his granddad's house, right? So we're in his granddad's house, sleeping on the floor. Suddenly, at 2 a.m, the door gets kicked in. These coppers run in. I'm up against the wall. My arms against the wall. I've been patted down. The old man's been patted down. My mate Will's been patted down. Turns out that his next door neighbour had been using this old man's phone to order drugs, and they just traced it to this old man's phone. So literally the next morning, all Will said to me was, I've got an idea for a song. I'm like, is that what you're thinking? I'm sitting here, just almost pissed myself with, like, I'm going to get arrested, and you've got an idea for a song.
Yeah, brilliant, man. Oh, the good times, eh? I remember one night we've come back from a gig, and I've got dropped off by this taxi at a girl's house that I was seeing at the time, and I've gone to go and knock on the front door, and it's like 3 a.m. She lived with her mum, and I'm like, nah, it's a bad idea. I'll walk to a mate's place instead. I've started walking to a mate's place that was like one main street in the suburb over. I got halfway, and I was knackered, and I remember just like trying car doors to see if someone's car door was open so I could have a kip in the car. And the first car that I found did, right? So I've fallen asleep in a panel van that's parked on the side of the road, right? But instead of being intelligent and sleeping in the back of a panel van where it's all nice and flat, I've slept across the front seat with a handbrake stuck in my back. Anyway, sure enough, this poor bloke gets up to go to work in the morning, right? And he opens the back doors of his panel van to put his paint tins in, right? So he can load up his car to head off to bloody work. And he looks in the car, and I wake up and I look over the back of the seats, and he looks at me and he goes, English fella, and he goes, who the fuck are you? And I didn't know what to say, man. I'd just woken up. I felt like dog shit. I wasn't there to steal anything. I was literally just having a kip because I was wasted. And I've looked at him and I says, oh, this isn't my car, is it? And he goes, no, it's fucking not. And I've quickly got out of his car, and I'm in all bang gear, all dressed up, and I've like started walking back down the road to get away from him, and he's just standing there on the curb holding his 2 paint tins, looking at me like, what? Like, have I just been robbed? Like, who's this clown?
But that's a brilliant spot on tap moment, man.
It's a sign of the times, man. I think we were just all, at the time, just drunks and party animals, and it was just epic fun, right? Like every weekend was another story.
That's right. I mean, did you tour predominantly your side of the country, or did you get around a bit? Or
no, we did one tour. We did one tour over on the east side where Motley Crue came to Australia, and they weren't coming to Perth. And we said, oh, sorry, no, they were coming to Perth, but I think in Perth they just did the Blackjack Festival. They didn't do their own show. Yeah. So we went. What we did is we organised our own show in each city so that we could play. Say, for example, on the Friday, we play in Brisbane, and then on the Saturday night we go watch Crew, and then then we fly down to Sydney, and then we do the same thing, and then we fly to Melbourne. We do the same. So we did a little tour of the East Coast, mainly just to leverage the whole Motley Crue were playing, so we could go and watch them every night.
Oh, I didn't see them when they came with Motorhead. Do you remember that?
That's the one.
That was it.
That was the one.
I didn't go, and I was so pissed because, Motorhead, fuck, I've never seen Motorhead, right? Lemmy, and like he's going to live forever, and he dies. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, I shouldn't
laugh, should I? Yeah, He was like another Keith Richards, wasn't he? Someone that he will never die.
Oh, I thought he was pickled. Like, he's not going anywhere. It's like I had offered a ticket to go and see Dio with Heaven and Hell, and I went, oh no, I can't. I've got a job interview tomorrow night. Tomorrow morning, I can't go to that. Right? I didn't get the job. I didn't go. Dio dies a week later. It's like,
Yeah,
no. You can't make that up, can you?
No, that's
sake.
Right.
Like when Gary Moore went, I'm a huge, massive Gary Moore fan. When Gary Moore died, I couldn't go to work. I was like, yeah, no, if I'm going home, I just played his albums all day. I was like, no, I'm not. I can't come in today.
I can't cope.
I can't.
You have those days, don't you?
You do.
When Dave Lombardo left Slayer, I know me and a mate of mine we were gutted the first time he left, right?
Yeah.
We were absolutely gutted, and we spent the day, sort of commiserating and listening to his records. And then obviously, what was the album called? Paul Bostap's first album.
Oh, bloody hell. Now you're pushing me, my memory. It's not the God. Not the,
I can picture the album. I just can't think. Divine Intervention, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Divine Intervention.
That's
and
the
he
one.
starts off with Killing Fields and that drum solo. So me and my mate got back together just to celebrate the new drummer. Yeah. Wow. Epic.
I was just at the Shaun earlier that I saw Slayer with Megadeth about 10, 15 years ago in Sydney, and there was 3 bands on the bill, and everyone's drinking in the bar. I got a few too many shandies in me. I thought the support act was still on. I turn around, everyone's gone. I'm waiting there, still drinking. 10 minutes, I walk in, it's bloody Megadeth's on. I was like, oh shit.
Brilliant, man.
But man, Dave on that gig, man, he almost knocked me over, man. I was dead centre in front of his kit at the front row, and that double kick, man, is just unbelievable. Yeah.
I've never seen him live. Good show, eh?
Oh mate, I've seen them live on every tour. I saw them on every tour until they just the last one would download. So brilliant. There was a sort of a year or two in between where I was raising young children. I didn't go, but up to that point, we did good every gig.
Yeah.
They were my band. Really, along with Deicide, they were the band that I felt the most aggressive. There's always aggressive music, but.
I listened to your podcast where you talk about the origins of death metal and Deicide, and I think you said he burnt an upside down cross into his head on stage or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's just that next level of extreme, isn't it?
Oh, it is, man. I mean, Glenn Benton. I mean, there's stories where he would chuck. Apparently, sit at the bar like in the swamps where he lives and chuck kittens to crocodiles and stuff. I mean, this is the stories. I mean, story. Yeah, as you do. Why not? Why not? I mean,
you could go to the park and go down the slide or something, but no.
Come on, kids, what are they doing with the kittens? No. As I said on that show, right, I had that experience where, man, I went in there and it was the chicken wire fence, and they're just chucking fucking pig's trotters and innards and shit, and it was madness. The other band I've seen, I felt it was not unsafe, but I didn't really was Cannibal Corpse. Cannibal Corpse was a certain edge to it, I didn't like.
We did support them when they toured in Perth, which I thought I was pretty happy with that. They played one of the gigs that in the city, and we got the opportunity to open up for them, and it was an honor. Like, don't get me wrong, like it's Cannibal Corpse, right? It is what it is. And it was just it was carnage at the end of the night. It absolutely.
Oh, mate, it was. I started at the front. I was at the Sydney Roundhouse or something. We started at the front, and within about 20 minutes in, I was at the back, man. I couldn't take it. I'm pretty good like that. I was like, nah, this is nasty. I'm going to stand at the back.
He's a genuine nice guy. Like,
oh, mate, I'm sure they're fantastic people. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've got to there we go, right? You say you say that, but you've got to bloody open for Cannibal Corpse is fantastic, right?
Oh, we were doing all right just before we broke up, and that's the problem. Like I say, we borrowed some money, recorded an album that's, hopefully people that listen to your show go and listen to it and they can make their own mind up. But what we were really proud of, we were supporting Cannibal Corpse. Things were probably all moving sort of in the right direction, but they were moving in the right direction because we were working so hard, and we were, like I say, we were rehearsing 18 hours a week. We were gigging, if we could every weekend, plus writing new material and trying to promote the band as well. And
I think that's probably one of the hardest things, isn't it? Self-promotion and a small band self-promotion.
Sure.
Hey?
Yeah. And it's one of the most important too, right? If you want to make a success of it, you have to promote your album. Like you have to promote your gigs, you have to promote your album, you have to market yourself to a degree, and it's typically what musicians don't want to do. None of us are interested in the business side of things. We're interested in getting together with your mates and smoking a few cigarettes, drinking a few VBs, and playing a few good songs, and smashing a plastic burger from BP at the end of the night. Like that was what we lived for. And then there's that other side of the business that was probably what was the next thing for us, was to really start trying to promote it and trying to get this album out and hopefully to a label and to do something with it. And I think at that point there, we were just completely and utterly cooked. And it was the smartest thing that we could have done at that point would have been to take 3 months off, everyone to take 3 months off. But we didn't make that decision. We basically said, well, while Shaun's traveling, we're not going to replace the drummer. I was in another band. I got in another band after that, was probably more of a rock and roll type band. The singer, Richard, he's stayed the course and he's done some brilliant things with different bands. And I don't know if you know Action, Tony, but Action are doing really well at the moment. So that's Richard, the singer for those guys.
Oh, fantastic!
Awesome things for himself. And I guess the rest of us now are looking at piecing back together what we can. And like I say, it's been a lot of fun piecing it back together, and getting hold of all the old footage, getting hold of all the old recordings, remembering all those accomplishments that you had along the way, and going, what, we feel like we really had something there. So hence getting in touch with yourself and starting that promotion piece that we we didn't do the first time round.
I suppose,
it's weird because when we were sort of gigging around and playing all the music, there wasn't, we didn't have the luxury of, I guess, the online media, right? We just didn't have that. So promoting your own band with zero budget, without social media, it's pretty difficult, right? It's really hard. I mean, unless you specialize in that, or you can throw some cash at it, or someone who knows someone who knows someone, or whatever it is, right? It was pretty hard then, right? Now I think we got the opportunity. Not saying it's easy to make it in the music world, because now it's hard either way, right? Whether you're there or now, it's hard no matter what. But there's so many accessible tools. There's forums and there's platforms where we have the ability to just do that sort of stuff now. And I think that's exciting for us. Me and Nat have been talking about this heaps, just going, mate, this is really exciting again. We're all back in Perth. We're all able to maybe jam whenever we can, and we can throw this stuff on Spotify. We can throw this stuff on media. This is really cool.
I think it's brilliant because, let's be honest, 15 years ago, without social media, this country is a vast land. It really is. Let's be honest. I mean, it's so big, and Perth, and it's almost like a different world over there. And so now you can be global without leaving your lounge room, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's that's okay. Like, I have this issue with that when it's, I call them, bedroom warriors. They make shitty music in their bedroom and pump it out, right? But when it's a different thing, when the product is as good as your product, the quality that's coming out there. Like, I mean, who did the artwork for the album?
I actually couldn't tell you. It was organised through Rich.
Richard did it.
It was the guy that did the Day of the Dead comics. But I couldn't. I'd love to actually give you his name, but do you know Shaun?
Yeah, no. Richard did quite a lot of it, right? Because he's a pretty good artist.
Yeah.
I know he designed
Richard pretty much did all the artwork for all the demos, and he
the
did
t-shirts,
like
right?
everything other than that front cover for The Living Dead. That was done by a guy that he got in touch with that did the Day of the Dead comics.
Oh wow.
And thinking, oh, we can't afford this, man. And the guy basically did it almost as a love job, and we got this incredible piece of artwork back. That well, like I say, I call it incredible, but let your listeners go and have a look for themselves. And yeah, but something that we were really impressed with, and we just said that's it. It wasn't one of those, can we change this? Can we put that person there? It was just like, yes, thank you, high five, we'll take it.
It so reflects the quality of the art, the music. It's really polished. Like, I mean, I see so many album covers coming through these days. I love a bit of these homemade thrash albums. They're great and they're fun, but
yeah, of course.
They do look like your uncle drew them, right? Like this sort of is really, it's got a real meaty to it.
Now that's kind of, a lot of it's been overtaken with all this AI stuff too, but like that's got a specific look in itself where like you can kind of tell that AI has been given a command and it's populated some artwork, and here's the artwork for the album.
Yeah.
One thing I really do love about that cover for our album is you can tell that someone has put pen to paper and started drawing these zombies, man, and they look like cool zombies.
They are. I mean, it looked amazing on a t-shirt. That's all I can say. Like, for sure. Looked fucking brilliant.
yeah. Well, when we get some shirts knocked up, Tom, make sure we get you sent one, man.
Fuck it, absolutely, man. So, are you going to push it out with physical media, or is it only going to just be in the digital realm for this particular album?
Oh, I'd love to. So, I mean, talking about like Richard and Ashen and some of the things that they do, the mate's house that I was around the other day that gave me, some of the copies of our stuff that I don't have anymore. He said, "Have you seen this?" And he pulls out the vinyl. For Ashen's vinyl, and he puts that on, and it just sounded incredible, and it looks so fucking cool as well. Just seeing that record, seeing Richard's stuff on something so, so polished and so professional, and like the sound quality that comes off vinyl as well. Talk about your podcasts. What you talked about the other week with the the vinyl pressing issues.
Yeah,
I know it's taken him. I think he said his newer album, it's taken a year sitting there waiting to be printed on vinyl.
Oh, yeah. It's
something
ridiculous.
that they just still so happy to wait for. It sounds so cool. So, yeah, man, I'd absolutely love if we get to that point where we're actually producing the physical copies and we can smash out some vinyls, like 1000%.
I think it'd be brilliant because there is I mean, don't get me wrong, I love having to be able to take my phone with me and listen to my music, and put it on whenever I need it. But there's, as you know about my podcast, I have my music room. I sit here, I put my records on, and it really, you just become one with the music. It makes you have to be there with it. And I think that artwork would look fantastic on a nice gate.
I still buy vinyl. I buy Richard's vinyl. I buy even just when you're walking around, and you see a limited edition, not Pantera, Far Beyond Driven, but I gotta have that.
I have that, man.
And you listen to it, and you do listen to it, and man, it does sound different, eh? Like no matter what you say, and whilst digital is amazing and has come up in the world, nothing beats vinyl, and it really doesn't. And like my vinyl collection is getting bigger than my CD collection and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah,
it's just the way it is.
I haven't bought a CD in, I don't know, 15 years. It's like, I don't tend to.
No, but you can't even, when you buy a car, you can't even play it in the car anymore. They don't even come with CD players. So
when it was like, what would it have been? I probably would have been 18, maybe 17 or 18. And I did a sound engineering course when, you're trying to figure out what the fuck you're going to do with your interests, when you leave school to make some money one day. And I remember him talking about, so like with digital production, so someone listening might call bullshit on this, but this is my memory of it anyway. But your hearing range is from, is it 20 hertz to 20, is it kilohertz or?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah, from
somewhere in that. Yeah.
From 20 to 20, that's the human hearing range. So in digital realm, everything outside of that gets cut so that they're not wasting any space, any data, and they're just putting what they needed to on a CD or now obviously online. Whereas with vinyl, all of those sounds that you can't hear actually go into the track, into the vibration of that needle.
Exactly.
So it's all of those things that you can't hear that then interact with the sounds that you can, that give it that extra warmth. And like, I don't know how much of that's like placebo for me, but like when I listen to, when I listen to Ashen and I listen to those guys on, Spotify, for example, and then listening to it coming through that vinyl, and it's just like, that's the shit, man. Like,
it is
fucking cool.
I remember
There's something so different about it.
Yeah, I remember I saw Slayer. It did was the Reign of Blood tour, I think, around that time.
Yeah, what a tour!
Oh fuck! Yeah,
Oh, no,
I'll tell you a story about it. I'll tell you a story. It's true, right? So it was at Hammersmith Odeon. If you ever get a chance to go there, it's now called the fucking Apollo something shit.
I think I've been. I think I saw Slash's Velvet Revolver there. That was at Hammersmith something.
Yeah, that would be it. So when you come to the train station, turn left, it's right at the end of the road. You can't miss it, right? And when you go in the front, there's two sets of stairs, like it's an old cinema, right? An old theatre. And I was in with my mate, and we got in to see. I can't even remember who was supporting.
That's the one.
Yeah, I think the Helmet was supporting. Anyway, it was like wall to wall rage. These fans just went at each other, and I'm standing there, and I wasn't old enough to drink yet. Like, so I'm just got this Coke, looking at these old metalheads just pump. And I thought they were gonna sort of cancel the gig. I thought, oh, shit, this is going off. So me and my mate, we just went upstairs and sat quietly in our seats and waited for the thing to start. But it was really crazy. But anyway, what I was going to say is I got Dead Skin Mask, when I first heard it on CD, I think, the very first time. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
And but then I got it on vinyl one year, and I'm sitting there with the cans on. I thought, geez, man, I'm hearing things I didn't hear before.
Yeah.
And it was like, what? Yeah. This is, particularly the drumming, it's different.
I think the greatest vinyl I've got is I think it's Iron Maiden Rock in Rio.
Fantastic.
So it's got the vinyl itself looks incredible. Don't get me wrong, but it's live, and it just there's something about it. The fact that they were able to get the sounds that they got live onto this vinyl, like, absolutely pisses on any other live CD I've listened to ever.
Oh,
and it is just phenomenal, man. Phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I still rate Live After Death as one of the greatest live albums of all time. So it's that's for my Maiden fan coming out of me.
It is, right. Like, it was in...
that and live that and Thin Lizzy's bloody hell, it's getting late over here. I can't remember the name of the album now. Anyway, Thin Lizzy live.
What incredible musicians they were to play that gig as beautifully as they played it, right?
Yeah.
Live. Like, that's not a studio production. That's not 10 takes of each riff.
No.
Like, you don't hear any mistakes. You hear all these improvised solos, but they all work. Like, it was just incredible.
You hear the story about Steve Harris going straight into the van afterwards and spending all night listening to the playback.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Apparently, as soon as the gig finished, he went straight to the because was it a 24 track? I can't remember. Anyway, and he just sits in the van all night with the engineer, just constantly replaying the gig over and over and over. Yeah, that's why he's who he is, right?
He's the guy. Yeah.
But that echoes very much back to you guys, though, because that's why the product that you've released is so good, because you did what he does. You think thoroughly about the music and hard about where it sounds, how to work on it. It's not just do it on your weekends and come and whenever. You lived it, and that's what comes across.
For all of us, the day jobs came second at that point.
Yeah.
The amount of times that I'd blow shifts or not rocking up late to work because of what we were doing, driving the band. The band was at 110%, and everything else came a distant second. And it was the same for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, truly, man, it's something I look upon people like yourselves, and I with sort of like not jealousy, but like awe, because I never really, even though I was in and out a few bands in my life, I never had the belief like you guys had to make this product, like, you know, or to just to do what you did. I used to go, yeah, no, it's a bit shitty. I might not, it's about self-belief.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I think we were lucky. Like I said, we all got along really well. Like we believed in the same music. We believed, we had even the same interests, man. Like we all got along really well, and we were just lucky enough to have that time in our lives where we all got stuck in a room together for 6 to 8 hours a day, but it was actually really good. Like we got along really well.
I don't ever remember any arguments, any arrogance. Like maybe there were, and maybe it's a case of when you look back and you only remember the good times. But literally, I don't remember any arguments amongst the band at all.
No.
You're very lucky.
Even when we split up, there were no arguments. It wasn't like, I can't fucking work with that guy anymore, and I'm sick of this guy's shit. There was none of that stuff at all. It was literally just burnout, and yeah.
So what if you could go back in a time machine like 15 years ago and persuade yourselves to have that 3-month break, where do you think you would have gone? I mean, I don't want to make you look back and feel sad, but where would you have? Do you think you would have had more albums out of you?
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely. I think if I could go back and speak to my younger self and say, have that 3 months off, and everyone would be cool. I think everyone would have been cool, and we probably would have just picked up where we'd left off and just enjoyed the music, like the promotion thing. What we're trying to do now with like Facebooks and whatnot, like that obviously didn't exist at the time.
No.
So we probably would have gone down a different avenue of maybe speaking to some of the people that we knew in the industry, like the likes of the guys that ran Soundworks, Shaun. Like they were really well connected. Soundworks touring agency that you're probably familiar with. We knew those guys really well. We used to rehearse at their studio. They had Soundworks rehearsal studios. So Dyson that ran that company, they were we were there with them for many hours a week. So it probably would have been a case of saying, reach out to these guys and try and leverage some of their knowledge and some of their contacts, and in the meantime keep recording. I mean, we've got other songs that didn't make the album as well, so there's other songs that could potentially already go into another album. And I think if we kept doing what we were doing, they probably would have made it, because there weren't songs we didn't like. I think there was probably a key thing of wanting 13 songs on an album, because it's that horror 13, right? Like
Yeah.
So we had there was Black Death and Slave to Eternity and a couple of other tracks that are on those demos that were equally fit to land as any of the other songs. But I guess at the time we were being pretty brutal and saying, nah, 13's enough. And one thing I was thinking of the other day, we actually recorded a hidden song for this album, and that's Lost. And it was basically like a blues. It was basically like a bluesy jam. So you'll notice if you listen to the album, there's two tracks on there. There's Act 1 and Act 2, and they're like recorded horror movie scenes that we did ourselves, right? So they're all our own voiceovers. That was my old VT Commodore with with a 5-liter in it that I used to love. That that's the first thing that you hear on the album. And that's supposed to be the cop car that starts up to drive to investigate the zombies taking over the cemetery. And where was I going with that? I've lost my train of thought, to be honest.
You said you had a hidden, and you hear it.
Yeah. So on the second track, you can hear these like the cops that are in the car. They're listening to the radio, and you can hear like a bluesy harmonica. Well, the hidden track was this bluesy riff with that harmonica on it. So that Act 2 was always supposed to be playing that song. Do you remember that, Shaun?
Oh fuck, man!
And it was
what about that for
it was Carfies, so Richard from Ashen. It was Carfies that was like, he was just wailing over the top of it, saying, "It's the end of the fucking album." Like,
shit!
I don't do it justice, but yeah, like he's wailing over the top of that, singing, "It's the end of the album. Go back to the start and do it again." And it was one of those tracks that at the end of, I think the last song on there's "Forever Burning."
Yes.
it was going to be one of those, there's like 2 minutes of silence, and then at the end of that 2 minutes of silence, then the hidden track kicked in, which was what the cops were listening to on the radio on number 8. So there was a shitload of effort that went into that album, and I think that was one of the arguments for the producers as well, which was like, we need that track, and they're like, you're out of budget, and we're like, we're fucking out of money. We got nothing, man. You're dealing with broke kids here that have put we borrowed money and we put our heart and soul.
We've lost him a second there.
Oh, we lost him.
Yeah, I think Nat's broken a bit there. Are you there, Nat?
Are we back?
Yeah, you're back now. There you go. It's quality radio.
All right. I don't know where that left off, but yeah, I'm sure you get the gist.
Yeah, I do indeed. Yeah, man, I do indeed.
It was good, man. Like, we got a lot of a lot of people involved in the album. I thought that was the fun part of it.
Yeah.
I got one of my mates that he's Brazilian, and he gets right into like bongos, Brazilian drumming.
Yeah.
We were like, man, on Serpent, do you want to come play some bongos in the album? Do you want to, and we set all these bongos up, and he just goes nuts, man. He absolutely loves it. And then we got a couple of other people in Witchcraft. I was at a gig one time, and just with some friends, and there was this just heavy rock band, and there was there's this female singer on, and I went, wow, she's got an incredible voice, absolutely incredible. When she finished the gig, I went, oh, we're recording an album. It's about this witch that gets burnt at a stake and stuff like that. Do you want to come and sing one of the choruses? And she goes, oh, I'm not sure. I was like, Matt, honestly, I think you'd be perfect for it. And I remember, talking to Rich and that, and said, guys, I've got the perfect person for this. Anyway, she comes down and she's pretty nervous about singing this chorus, but when you listen to it on the track, she just absolutely nails it, man. Like I just love that song, because you've got you've got Richard singing the first bit, from the point of view of the townspeople, and then she comes in, and then she just absolutely nails it with the female vocals from the witchcraft, the witch's point of view, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, because I googled her to try and find her. Rachella, is it?
Rachelina Santella.
That's it. And
yeah,
and I got a picture, because obviously she probably has a working life. It was like a lawyer picture. I thought, is that her? Like, I had to try and find.
Yeah, it could be. I couldn't tell you what she's up to now. I have sent her and some of the other. So since we've released the album, like the cops in the car that are doing the talking, the girl on the dispatch. There's a chick that does orgasms over Demon Resurrection as well towards the end. Like she all those people, all those like cool people that came in to do all that voiceover shit like on the album. None of that sampled. They all came in and did their own bit. And I've sent most of the messages to say, hey, look, this album, apologies, it's fucking late, but it's finally out and it's available. And she never got back to us. So hopefully, I don't know whether she's on the same number or who knows. But she did an absolutely outstanding job, and I'd say that'd be one.
I mean, to the point where I was looking for her. I was like, well, who is this one? Who is this woman singing? So,
and considering she's never really done something like that before, she nailed it, absolutely nailed it.
Yeah.
And what the only regret I have is not having her continuing it throughout the rest of the song. Like really bringing it. Yeah, because she just did such
dual vocals on the choruses and all that sort of shit. Like yeah. Oh. And then that third verse, like if she sang the third verse, I think you said this, Shaun, like if she sang that third verse in tandem with Richard for the third verse, so they both sang at the same time, singing the same lyrics, but I instead of they, like that overlap. And if there was one recommendation I had, man, for your listeners, if someone was going to come and check out this album, it's not my favourite song by a long way, but to listen to Witchcraft, that second verse that she sings, like well worth a listen. Just to hear that death metal vocals from a chick that did not look like someone that was coming in to perform that. But actually, when she came in, she sang in like all the vocals in a clean voice, and the rest of the band, we all looked at each other and went, nah, we want to scream this shit. And she did, and she really challenged herself. Well, she might say she didn't, but I thought she might have been. But man, she absolutely nailed it, and it's a brilliant part of the record. It's something that if I'm showing new people, like workmates or like friends and family, or it's like you got to listen to this chick, Unreal.
Because Richard's voice is we haven't talked about this, but he's got a great voice, man. Like he is really, I mean, the band is brilliant as a whole, but his voice, he sort of nails it. Absolutely nails it.
We always wanted a metal voice. We did want a metal voice. Don't get me wrong, but I want to understand some of the lyrics as well. Like,
yes,
I want. You know what I mean? Like, no, don't get me wrong. Cannibal Corpses and your Deicides and all that sort of stuff, napalms and all that. Awesome, and I've got nothing against them.
Yeah.
But I do want to understand some of the lyrics, and I think Richard has. He's beyond a little bit of the glam metal, that sort of lyrics, obviously. But he still has the growl. You know, the best thing about your Pantera.
He walked that line beautifully, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
It's a sign of a man. Like
he's walked again.
That he brought to that recording really just speaks volumes as well.
Yeah, I just thought, I'm just blown away by his vocal. Because again, you don't know. You see the album cover, you think, "What am I coming into here with this?" Right? So you put it on, and I've just done the review for the latest Crypto album, and I love all that stuff. I really do. But there's sometimes where you do want to hear what they're saying. You're absolutely right, Sean. There is a point where why bother writing this fantastic lyric? And a lot of it is pretty well written. You don't want to go, and you don't hear it. It's I get it's an instrument, and it is another instrument, just like guitar and drums and bass and everything. But sometimes it needs to be a little bit more clean. You don't always want dirty guitar. You do sometimes want some nice clean.
Yeah.
You know.
So. I think the middle ground is perfect. You know, that's why people loved Pantera. You can understand every word he says. Yeah, it's still a growl. It's still meaty. But you can still understand him for sure. And they're the biggest bands in the world, right? And they've written, like you said, they've written a story. They're poets, okay? And they are, whether you like it or not, they're poets, and they've got a story to tell. I can't write that shit, man. Like I can't write a song.
Yeah.
There's no way.
No chance. Yeah.
So why, like you said, why shouldn't it be heard? Why can't you do that, right? And I think it sucks because a lot of their stories don't get told or they don't get heard because people just automatically go, "Oh, fuck that, I'm not listening to that," right?
I know, absolutely. I've got friends of mine that won't listen to it at all, even though musically it's brilliant. They go, "Oh, I can't." The singer just gives them the shits, and I'm like, we'll push beyond it a bit sometimes. But I get that. I get it. I really do. Yeah.
Oh, just to give him another plug, like what I was going to say before was just the professionalism that he brought to that album as a singer. Like, as much as we were all really focused and, dedicated, like I said, the borrowing the money, the hours of rehearsals, the like endless time that we spent in that studio, like putting it out, we were still drinking and smoking and, and doing all the normal shit bands do, except him, right? And he was a fucking cool guy that did all that shit with us normally. But when it came to recording and his instrument was his vocal cords, he turned up to the first session and he was drinking tea, right? And we're like you probably appreciate this as a British man. He's got his flask of tea, right? And he's sipping away on that because beer for the vocal cords was no good for recording. But tea was something that like opened up the larynx and did, so he'd sit there and he'd drink himself 4 pints of tea for a recording session, and you could really tell the difference when he went into that vocal booth and he had to do what he had to do, and everything that came out, it was those moments like we said with Rachelina where she did the witchcraft stuff. It was those moments where the rest of the band looked at each other and said, "Fucking hell, this guy can sing," which we obviously knew because we'd been in the band with him for that long. But listening to the quality of what came back on that record, it was just like, we were all in awe of him, absolute awe of him and what he did for the band.
Yeah, and we're coming to the end of the chat, but I do want to say this, that's the thing that I'm surprised by this album. I'm genuinely surprised by it, mate, guys. And I really know, I don't want to say because you're sitting in front of me, but I mean it genuinely. I hear a lot of music in my life. I mean, to the point where it's all I do. And and you put on an album like that. And what really blew me away was that I'd never heard of you guys, because obviously you split up years ago.
Yeah. We've been in true zombie fashion. We've been dead for 15 years.
Yeah, right. We've been resurrected.
And now we're back.
Right.
That's the tour.
The Living Dead.
The rain's come down and it's resurrected you to Return of the Living Dead, right? and you know, you put it on, and it was like literally I couldn't stop listening to it. I thought this doesn't, and I mean, like I said it before at the beginning of the show, it doesn't sound like an album of a band that's just recorded one album. It sounds like an educated, thoroughly thought out, well recorded piece of music, and there's nothing in it that I go, oh, we skip. I loved every minute from the opening chord to the last chord, and I mean that sincerely. Brilliant album. Absolutely brilliant. And if it doesn't do something, I want to know why.
I appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. So yeah, we want to, we want to try and I don't know, get it out there, get a few people listening to it, and then, we see where it goes from there.
You should. It's a shame and a sin if it doesn't get good airplay. I mean, Spotify's a tough one because it's so many bloody people on it. So much noise on that platform, but it's a tricky one, right? It's a tricky one. I mean, if you think about it, if you were German or Norwegian or Swedish or British, you'd probably be bloody all over the place. It's tougher being on this continent,
Yeah, it is for sure. Like Shaun says before, it's nice to have all those tools available to us now, which we didn't have before, but it just changes the landscape, and it's just, everyone's got access to everything now. So it's, it's not a case of having that one breakthrough song or that one breakthrough album. It's, there's an element of luck and, obviously pushing it ourselves, and really appreciate you having us on, man. It's,
it's been a pleasure.
Podcast, and it's been great to have a proper chat.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. I just, again, if I could just say to my listeners that are listening, really please do go to any platform, because you're on all the platforms, all the streaming platforms, is that right? Yeah. So, go to wherever you're streaming music. I mean, I found your video on YouTube. I watched that the other day. And just listen to this really classy piece of music. And it is classy, right? It really is classy. Whether you like that kind of metal or not, it's worth listening to. Really, really is. So thanks, guys, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No, just thank you for giving the world the music. We really appreciate it, man. We really do. Keep safe. And yes, come on a tour. We have to have you touring.
You too, mate.
Tour.
Well, that's what we'll do. We'll push this out, and that shirt that we owe you for the with the zombies for the Living Dead, mate, we'll bring it to you in person.
Oh, fuck, can't wait, man. I'll be there. I'll get the first round in.
That's worth a shirt, 100%.
Yeah. All right, mate. Talk to you soon. Thanks again. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah,
keep safe, man.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, mate.
See you, mate.
Head over to Hulu this March, where our new shows and movies will keep you streaming all month long. Catch the award-winning movie Poor Things, starring Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, and Willem Dafoe. Check out the new documentary, Freaknik, The Wildest Party Never Told, about the iconic Atlanta Street Party. And don't miss FX's Shogun, a reimagining of the epic tale, starring Anna Sawai. So, what are you waiting for? Go stream something new on Hulu.